Hey, friend. So it's probably been a few episodes that you've been hearing me yap for a little bit. And I talk a lot about running a photography business, but it occurred to me that I've never really discussed how to get started in a business in general. Like, how do you become a small business owner? Maybe you do want to do photography. Like, how does it even work from the government perspective? Do you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to do photography, and then you're just a photographer? Like, what are you doing, India? Please help. So I was thinking about all that, and I was like, I thought it'd be a fun episode to just kind of talk through, from my experience, how do you start a small business in general? And if anyone is out there like on the fence about an idea or considering maybe even being a photographer or just starting any kind of product or service-based small business, I thought this could be a fun and maybe helpful episode for you. Full disclosure, obviously, I'm operating from my own business, my knowledge, like the things that I have in my tool belt, along with my college degree, which was not in business. But this information is pretty widely accessible. It's a lot of stuff from the internet, from different influencers, from different business coaches, from workshops that I've attended. And I'm just kind of compiling it all together for you today. So obviously you're going to have to do your own curated research on a specific niche or for your state's rules and regulations. But this is just kind of my bird's eye view. If you are curious about starting your own business, here's what I think you'll need to get started. Also, my cat, our smallest one, Sokka, is sleeping right next to me. So I wish you guys could see it. Well, let me see if I can do this for my YouTube. Look at her. Just snoozing away. Ugh, love that for me. But yeah, let me get my camera not looking so insane. Okay, so without further ado, let's hop into the theme song and get you some answers. Can I be honest for a second? Entrepreneurship can often feel kind of lonely. Especially as a female business owner, it's easy to get pitted against peers rather than welcomed into a collaborative community. My guess is maybe you felt the same. I fully believe that your life and business is equal parts what happens to you and what you make of it. Yes, I am quoting the great Hannah Montana. So when work feels disconnected and life gets overloaded, let's retreat in community to fill our cups and our tool belts with everything we need for the next season. I am thrilled to host the second official India Jade Getaway Retreat. Last year's event sold out and it was so unbelievably fun. You can bet your bottom dollar that this one is bigger, better, and built especially for my female business owners and photographers. This year you'll have 3 days and 2 nights at the exclusive Cliffs Cantwell Lodge, as well as a luxury wedding-styled shoot at the 75 in Hocking Hills. This is not just for photographers, it's for business owners, creative dreamers, female entrepreneurs, and of course, photographers are more than welcome to attend, especially at those styled shoots. Tickets are currently on sale now, and you can get a special discount if you head to the link in the show notes. Do not miss this one, you guys. You are going to love this getaway, and I cannot wait to see you there. Once again, click the link in the show notes to save your seat. Okay, so you have a business idea. I guess the very first thing you need to do is decide what exactly your product or service offer is. What is it that you're bringing to the world? What are you trying to sell? What are you trying to offer? And that could be a number of things, right? If you're talking about a service-based business, that could be like you're wanting to be a wedding DJ, or you want to be a portrait photographer, or maybe you want to be a manicurist or something like that. And if you're talking about a product-based business, that would be like, oh, my goal is to start an e-commerce place where I can sell t-shirt designs, or I want to do a brick and mortar store where I'm going to sell little knickknacks for the cute little moms to come on their little Thanksgiving shopping and buy all the little treats for Christmas, like something like along those lines, right? I would say for products, I have less experience with this personally. I think I talk about this in another episode. I do have 2 not failed businesses, but closed businesses under my belt. One was an apparel line that I kind of did a soft launch and ran for about a year. And the second was a rental, like a party rental company where I had different items like furniture, peacock chairs, rugs, like stylish things you could rent to kind of like up level your party. So with the products, my only experience is really with my one go at that apparel line. But from my experience with that and from what I've researched on the interwebs, you would want to decide how you're going to fulfill those products. Who's your manufacturer? If I could have my words in order, that'd be helpful. And then if you need drop shipping, or package will be like packaged at your own house or your own facility and you'll be manually doing it. Do you need a staff to do that? All that kind of stuff. But we're going to keep this kind of easier today. For the service-based businesses, you're just going to figure out how is it going to happen. Like for the DJ example, are you physically going to be purchasing DJ equipment so that you can bring that to a wedding or a party? Are you going to rent that equipment? Do you have a friend that you can be kind of underneath their wing as you learn and apprentice under them, and then you start your own business? Or are you just doing this cold turkey? How much money is this going to take to invest up front? Same for both a product and a service-based business. You kind of have to think along those lines before just jumping in because some influencer told you they could make money that way. Okay. Then after you decide what your product or service is, you're then going to want to create a brand. And maybe this step is later down the line, but I have a degree in graphic design and advertising. So for me, this step is pretty close to like number 2, because I'm a visual person. And I think this is an important one to say, okay, aside from a logo, aside from a catchy little name, what else is the brand? What else is going to tell your ideal customer or client, hey, I'm India and I do photography for couples in love, traveling, all that stuff. How do I bridge that gap from being a nobody to the first choice on their list? So when you're creating a brand, I think it's definitely more than just visuals and a logo. I personally think that a brand is your unique take on your service or product that you're providing and offering to the world. And so everything from the visuals, the font, the choices of color, the language, your copywriting, the way you present yourself on social media, the way that you present yourself on a website, the way that you're quoted in public, all of that goes into not just your business brand, but also your personal brand. And I think those are very, very important things to consider when you're putting yourself out in the world. Now, to keep it simple for today, the practical visual pieces you'll need for your brand are a logo, fonts, colors, probably a copywriting tone. This is more than just like the words themselves, but is it a super playful tone? Are you being very professional about your work? There's a t-shirt artist I follow who went viral for making t-shirts about waxing, like physically removing the hair off your body. I'm blanking on her name. But she like screen prints these t-shirts about like being hair free and like how being a wax service provider or getting your waxing done or whatever. But like her whole tone in her captions on her website, it's very casual because you're talking about something that's a little taboo and kind of fun and silly. Versus if you are a high level apparel company like Gucci, you're not going to have silly little phrases and dumb Instagram captions, right? And I say dumb lightly, like I don't think it's actually dumb, but the tone shift is different. You're going to be more elusive, maybe more poetic. Maybe you're not even writing captions in English. You want to kind of cater to the whole of the brand. So those are things for the brand you can either come up with on yourself. You can use a free resource like Canva, or you can hire a graphic designer and a branding expert to create all of that for you. It's up to you, again, based on how much money you have to play with. But I think that's an important step before you just like hard launch a business out into the world, considering what is the brand as a whole, how you want it to come across, and most importantly, who your target audience is. And I'll get to that in a little bit. The next step you're going to want to do is create a lead or an order form. A lead form is something that you use to basically say, okay, here's this person floating out in the world. Now I'm going to collect their information because they've now found me, and I'm going to put that information into my business and connect with them further. So for example, like on my wedding photography website, if someone is interested in hearing more about my services, maybe they want to book me, maybe they just want more information, they're going to fill out my lead form. So it's like first name, last name, their email address, and a second point of contact. I always recommend that. So I ask for a phone number and then comments about like their wedding day, the project they're looking for, the date, all that good stuff. If you're talking about an order form, this would be obviously for like a product-based business. And if someone's just buying a t-shirt on the internet or something like that, they can go to your website and fill out that order form. How many t-shirts, what size, what color, any special notes. I don't need to explain these to you. You've seen all this stuff before.
But I will also say those lead forms and order forms can be made pretty much through any website host. If you're using like Shopify, you'll probably have an automated option to add an order form. If you're using something else, like if you're a photographer like me, Honeybook or Dubsado or even Flowdesk, I believe, have lead form templates that you can just embed into your website. And that really helps to kind of streamline your service into a CRM. If it's getting too in the weeds, so sorry, but I'm just like spitballing all this because I think some of y'all are out here having like actual deep questions about this. So you can always hit me up for a personal coaching call too if you have questions about anything I'm saying. Okay. Then I would say for a product-based business, you're then going to create your inventory, designing your products, discussing features with manufacturers, developing anything that needs developed, and like testing things out to make sure it's actually a product that's worthwhile and that's worth the money, doing some product research, maybe creating a focus group, creating package designs, all that good stuff. I have minimal experience with this, but when I did do my apparel company, I did not have any inventory like physically sitting in my house just waiting for me to package and ship it. A lot of folks who use Etsy do that. Like they'll be, maybe they're a greeting card designer and they have the physical designs printed and they're just sitting in a box. And whenever an order comes in, they'll pull it out, manually wrap it, ship it, and put it in the mail. I chose to do something different. I did kind of like a manufacturer that drop shipped from their own place. So as soon as the t-shirt was printed, it was like a one-off print and then it was individually packaged and then it was sent. And I didn't have to like sit there and package anything, which I loved. The caveat to that was that it was way more expensive than if I had just bulk ordered inventory. But for me at that time, I was like, I don't have time or capacity to sit here with 400 t-shirts, wait for an order to come in, hope I have the right size and ship it out. If it would have increased, like the sales would have gone better and that was something I wanted to continue, I definitely could have looked at that option. But for me in that season, I was like, I don't have the time or capacity. And I'm honestly glad I didn't do that because I didn't have enough sales in general to like make it worth it. Like if I had ordered 400 t-shirts, I would probably have 384 t-shirts left over. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But those are the different options you have there.
Creatives, are you struggling to keep up with all your clients' needs? Maybe you feel like you're swimming through emails, DMs, texts, and feel like there's no way to keep communication together. Not to mention keeping track of payments, invoices, contracts, and having to freak out at 2 a.m. because you forgot to email a lead client back. Yikes! My entire workflow shifted when I stopped DIYing my approach and switched to Honeybook. They are a powerhouse CRM, client relations management tool, if you didn't know, that acts as a coworker you've always needed. Honeybook helps with invoicing, payment tracking, contracts for every session under the sun, scheduling, lead forms, automations, and streamlining communication to one stop for you. Not to mention your clients will notice the professional difference you bring to the table with the Honeybook tools. If you're ready to step up your business and feel peace of mind with your client's approach, I have an exclusive offer for you. As a thank you for listening to the India and Stuff show, take 50% off your first year of Honeybook by going to share.honeybook.com/IndiaJadePhoto. Or if you're like me and that's way too much to remember, just tap the URL in the show notes. Now back to the show.
And then the next thing you're going to want to do is price out everything. Like how much are things going to cost? How much is the raw product or a wholesale product? How much does it cost in materials? How much are shipping costs, things like that? What's your initial investment to get started? What's your profit margin you're aiming for? And I mean, this is a personal thing, but again, if you've watched my content, you know that I'm a huge propeller. I'm a huge fan of ethical manufacturing, especially in apparel and in all goods, but that seems to be like fast fashion is like the biggest one and the most wasteful that really, really harms people and the planet. So I try to think as ethically I could around manufacturing if you're going in that direction, and what that cost would be. The other thing when I did my own little apparel line was I chose to use wholesale blank like t-shirts that were from an ethical manufacturer that had certain standards in their practices so that I could feel better about, hey, this isn't supporting fast fashion. However, a lot of folks who don't do that, it's like just fine. Like that's their decision. but the price will still like they'll profit more, if that makes sense. If your like wholesale blank product t-shirt is $5 because it came from a sweatshop and then you slap a cool logo on it and then you sell that for $45, they're making a pretty steep profit. Whereas like my raw product was like, I think it was $19.99 per product. And then I embedded my design into it. Like I had my manufacturer embed a cool design. And then with shipping and everything, I think I made $2 per t-shirt sold, because at that point I was already like, I'm already charging like $32. I'm like, no one's gonna pay $50 like for a t-shirt. So it just wasn't the best solution. And I could get way into that in the long run. Like I do think we need a whole reform on that front. But anyway, decide for yourself what works and what you're comfortable with ethically. And then go forward. For services now, I would say you need to also consider your upfront cost, how much time the projects will take, your capacity for some of these offerings, if you'll need to hire assistants or purchase extra gear, how much you want to make in the long run. So again, for let's say wedding DJ or something like that, are you going to be able to give 12 Saturdays a month, 12 Saturdays a year to doing this? And how much does it cost to purchase the gear? And how many weddings will it take to pay off the gear? And then once it's going, is this sustainable? Do you have to hire out more people to help you maintain this kind of thing? Those are all those questions that'll come kind of as you get your foot in the door. But I think it's important to think those things over. Okay. Then once you kind of have those prices in mind and you've asked all your questions to yourself, what do you want to make at the end of the day? How much do things cost? You're going to want to also create a pricing guide to show, especially just for service-based businesses, to show your clients, hey, this is how much things cost. If you've ever inquired for a session or a wedding from me, you've seen one of those. That's a PDF that I create that says, hey, here's all that I'm bringing to the table. Here's what I'm asking for an 8-hour wedding day, a 10-hour wedding day. Here's what my 1-hour, portrait session cost is. And here's how you pay. Here's all your FAQs, and everything's right there so that my clients can see and not have any questions after they look at all that. Okay. Then once you know what your offer is, once you know what your brand tone and voice is, once you know how much things are costing, how much you're asking, and you have your price guide, you're pretty much ready to do some business, I think. So technically, legally, in the US, as far as I know, in the United States, you do not have to really do anything to start operating as a business. You can operate as a sole proprietor. And that means that and I'll back up a little, because you can start just like with a hobby. You could make necklaces and sell them at the school bake sale. Why would you be selling necklaces at the bake sale? I don't know. You could start with like necklaces on Etsy. And my understanding is you do not have to pay taxes on that until you make over $600. Once you make over $600 from that business, then you're going to start reporting taxes. I might be incorrect on that number. And I think I've gotten mixed, opinions. Some people say, if you're making less than $10,000, if you're making less than, but from my understanding, if it's just simply a hobby and you're making very small amounts of money, you do not have to like put that on your tax form as I'm a business. You can just, if you want to report it, you can, which you should, you can report it as like, hey, this was some income made. It's a hobby. That's it. Once you're like making big bucks and you're like, this is an actual business, or if you go in from the get-go going, I'm starting a business today and my projections are X, Y, and Z, then you're going to file your taxes as a sole proprietor in all 50 states. So again, you can just be yourself. You don't have to be an official LLC. You don't have to file anything specifically. You want to make sure with your exact state, you make sure like, is there any other business registration things I need to do, any business licenses I need to purchase. But from my understanding, you could start a photography business tomorrow in any state. And as long as you're reporting that income on your federal and state taxes as income, then you're just fine. You are a sole proprietor and you can conduct business totally legal, totally normal. Double check me on that for your own state, but that is what I've been told and taught and teach as well. But then, and this is getting too in the weeds, but after that, after you've started and have a consistent, like, client base and you're continuing this business, or you're making some big bucks and you're like, I want to get more legal protection and I also want to be more official to my clients, then you're going to be an LLC and you're going to file with your state and say, hello, I am India and now I am doing wedding photography as a business. I want the state to recognize this, that I operate here. And this is my business name. And you're going to file that. And it's going to be business name, comma, LLC. So I'm technically India Jade LLC. And my doing business as my like operating name is India Jade Photo or India Jade Photography. But I went with India Jade LLC to cover all the creative stuff I do, so that if I ever kind of transition away from wedding photography and do more portrait photography or do more podcasting and make a whole bunch of money. I've never made a dime off of podcasting, but just in case any of my creative endeavors, they're all kind of underneath my umbrella company of India Jade LLC, so that I can try my hand at multiple different things. And to the government, they're like, okay, cool. We recognize she is a business owner. She's a photographer. That's her main business. And any income coming in from these creative endeavors can go and be filed underneath that company. So I recommend switching to an LLC down the line once you're comfortable with what you're doing. You've got your feet under yourself a little bit. You're not just in a hobby mode anymore, and you're starting to make some income. The main reason for this is because there's more protection as a business if you are an LLC. Like if someone unfortunately has a really hard time with you and let's say they want to take you to court, they buy one of your t-shirt products and they don't like the way that it is and you don't accept returns and you don't refund them their money. And they say, hey, I don't like you, t-shirt owner. I'm suing you for damages. Or, I mean, let's say you use the wrong kind of chemicals. Let's say you bleach a t-shirt and you sell it on Etsy and then the bleach stains their skin or gives them a reaction. And they come at you and you're not legally recognized as a business. From my understanding, they could come in court and sue you and take your house, take your car, take all of your personal things, because there's no clear start and stop to what is India the person and what is India the business owner. So the main motivation, among other things, is becoming an LLC prevents that from happening. An LLC will put a block up. And so if you were ever taken to court, the business stops here. And so that's as far as they can go. They can't come after your house, your car, your personal things. They can only take your business so far in court. That's my understanding. There's other little bonuses. Obviously, once you're an LLC, you can apply for an EIN, which is this fancy little number. It's like the Social Security number for businesses. And that will help you get a business bank account, which I also recommend having. And you can also apply for loans, business loans and stuff like that. But if you're just starting out, sorry, that got a little crazy there. But if you're just starting out, you don't have to worry about any of that just yet. But rolling it all back, now if we are just starting out and we're ready to do our clients, we're ready to meet our clients, the next step you're going to do once you have all your little pieces in place is just get to marketing. You're going to find those clients wherever you can find those clients. I recommend the free, fantastic resource that it is, Instagram. I recommend starting on Instagram. And the reason is, again, it is free. It's the number one social media platform. It is not currently potentially going to get chopped like TikTok. And it's free advertising. When it's all said and done, you are having the opportunity to be propelled forward to your ideal clients for free. 20 years ago, this wasn't an option. 15 years ago, this wasn't an option. You had to pay to put an ad in a newspaper. You had to put up flyers around town. Instagram is an amazing tool, albeit insane sometimes. It's an amazing tool to get in front of potential customers. And I think it can be easily overlooked by maybe folks who are a little bit of a different generation and haven't tried this before or want to do business in an old-fashioned way. Those things are fantastic. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do think you could be overlooking an amazing marketing tool if you're not currently using Instagram as an advertising platform. I actually, a little fun story, just worked with an amazing wedding planner recently, and she was great to work with and all that stuff. And I was like, hey, what's your Instagram handle? Because that's how I connect after the end of a wedding day. Make sure I follow all the vendors so I can tag them properly and give them credit for all their hard work on this wedding day. And I'd worked with her a few times before, and she said, "Oh, I actually don't have a business Instagram. I know that's bad, but like I don't have one." And I was just like, how do people find you? Like, how do they genuinely? Because 90 something percent of couples getting married, the first place they're going to look is Google and Instagram. And if you just type in like wedding planner, wedding photographer on Google, you're going to find any number of folks, or just the folks right in your like backyard vicinity, or the ones that are paying for like themselves to be popped up on Google. So it's just an interesting thing. I was like, bro, how are they finding you? So anyway, I would recommend starting an Instagram. It's really helpful. And I would also suggest, again, before maybe even a website, popping onto Instagram, because you could start getting clients solely through Instagram posts and DMs, taking orders through a lead form that you send them. And then like that, you could start right there. You don't have to have a fancy website. I highly recommend having a website. I would say that'd be the next step. But one example is that one of my dear friends started a photography business. She's a mom of 3, probably 3 or 4 years ago, had dabbled in photography a little bit, and then sat down with me and kind of shared that she wanted to really go into photography a lot harder and make it not a full-time job, but just like, I think at one point it was her full-time job, but she's doing some other stuff on the side now. But she just started, photographing, posting her images, and she was able to go full-time for multiple years just solely through Instagram alone. And then like a few years into her work, reached out to me and asked if I could design a website for her. And I was like, whoa, you haven't had a website this whole time? And she's like, no, I've just been running everything through Instagram. And we're talking like multiple thousands of dollars of clients. It's not the best practice overall, but it's like, start where you can. Like, don't let fear stand in the way of you starting something, because you're like, oh, I'll be a real business once I like figure it all out. You can just start where you are, even if it doesn't feel like 110% the way it is, even if you don't have all your ducks in a row. You would be surprised at how many people are ready for exactly what you have to offer. And by you getting scared of, and having a fear block in front of you, you're just basically like robbing yourself, right? Like, there are people ready to work with you that you haven't even met. So show up and give them everything you have to offer. And I think it's going to be a really cool payout to see. Okay. Also, my breath smells like, it smells all weird today. Okay, so after you've gotten over your fear and jumped on Instagram and started marketing there, hopefully you've got some people interested in what you've got to offer, and maybe some sales are flowing in. You can do many things with Instagram. You can like boost stories, do a little paid ad situation. You can also just continually show up. I have a whole strategy that I recommend to my coaching students on how to show up on Instagram, why it's important, frequency, how to schedule posts, caption writing, all that good stuff. So if any of that's interesting to you, you can always shoot me a message and I can send you all the info on being like under my coaching program, because I think there's a lot to it. And some people think maybe they've got all the answers and others are just trying to DIY it, and it can get really confusing. So if you have questions, I'm happy to help you with those. But once you've got Instagram rolling and it's time to, make your own website, maybe you finally can afford one, maybe you're going to hire a designer, maybe you just want to DIY it. I DIY'd mine, but I have a degree in graphic design and took some web design classes, so don't even at me. You can, at the minimum on your website, put a few pages forward. I would say a home page, an about page, your offer, like what you're actually offering, and a contact page are like the basics. If you want to get crazier with it, you can do, depending on what your service or product is, you can do testimonials, you can do a blog, you could do a gallery if you're doing photography, you can do all kinds of fun stuff on your website. But those basic pages are really helpful and important to just get your service, offer, or product out in front of people. And if you need a web designer, my friend Whitney at Wild Hive Studios is chef's kiss. And whenever I do re-up my website, I'm going to go to her because she is amazing. And she specifically works with product-based businesses on Shopify. So she's like a Shopify website designer, as well as having like her own website background. So I would recommend Wild Hive Studios. But the other things you need to really put forward on that website are like who you are, what you're offering, why they should care. Those are the main 3 things. And I think that will help your website stand out a lot more than just like another rando website. Once you have all that put together, you're ready. You're a business owner. You've got your service offer, you've got your product offer, you're marketing, you're looking for those clients, and you're doing it. And that's amazing. Once all that is going, like I said, I kind of got ahead of myself, once your services are going and you've got some money coming in, it's probably time to get that LLC filed. It's not hard. It's usually about $100 depending on your state. And you're going to go in, like I said, with your business name, LLC. You're going to put all your personal information there, your business address, and you're going to file that with the state. And once you're officially approved, then you will put that new name, your business LLC name, on like all your official documents, invoices, contracts, at the footer of your website, all that good stuff. And you'll officially be protected and recognized by the state and the federal government as a legit business, which is so cool. There's other things to that. You can decide to get trademarked, especially if like a little tagline or like a name. And you're going to want to make sure no one else has your name. I think I'll need to do more research on some of that before I steer y'all wrong, but those things are helpful too. If you're like, oh, I want to like trademark my business or my brand name, especially for products, I think it's really important to do that. But yeah, once you do all that, you're rolling. It's not expensive too. Like I think I already mentioned, it's like $100. So then once you have the LLC, you're going to get that EIN number. You're going to take that and open your business bank account. Once you got your business bank account, it's so much easier to see your business finances as opposed to your personal finances. I recommend getting a bookkeeper and a CPA if your business is really growing and you're raking in a lot of money and you have a lot of income. You're going to want to have someone to kind of help categorize all your purchases and your expenses and making sure you're getting the most deductions at the end of the year. So like a bookkeeper is going to help categorize everything and align like what you are allowed to spend your business income on and what is actually going to be a tax deductible expense. Your CPA is going to help file all those things and communicate that to the government and put all those things in order so that you can get the most savings. I personally work with Collective. I'll put a little ad in this episode too. They're an amazing bookkeeper and CPA like duo team. It's a little bit of an expense, which is why I say to wait until you're kind of at a sustainable period where you can afford it. But if you are making, I would say, more than 6 figures a year in profit, you would probably want to have a bookkeeper, because just on the off chance that you get an audit from the IRS, it's going to be helpful to say, hey, look, I've been working with this team and these people. Here's why I did what I did.
Hey, if you're a business owner pulling your hair out over taxes, let me tell you, you're not alone. That was me for so many years, but I have a solution. Let me introduce you to Collective. Now, I am not kidding when I tell you I have lost so much sleep over tax season. And as an entrepreneur, there's mileage to track and transactions to log. And wait, is my plane ticket tax deductible? All of my bookkeeping and tax filing needs were met when I stopped DIYing my business finances and switched to Collective. They are a powerful team that handles all of my business's finances, so I can keep the focus on serving my clients and getting my free time back. Also, if you're an LLC ready to scale up your business, they even help you switch to an S Corp, which saves you so much money. And who doesn't love that? To get you started, get your first month free when you use the link in the show notes to sign up.
Okay. All right. And then after all that good stuff, you're going to want to create a marketing plan and then repeat all this over and over and over again until you go crazy. But the marketing plan is going to say, okay, I've got my service or my product offer. I know who I am, what I'm doing, why it matters. I've got all my pieces in place. I've either getting some orders coming in or I'm scaling quickly. And you're going to want to continue to make this marketing plan, because you're going to have dry seasons where you're like, wait, what am I doing again? Wait, who is this for again? And this plan is just going to be like a strategy to say, okay, these are my content pillars on Instagram. This is the style that I'm going for. This is my ideal client. This is where they shop and who they are and what they know and where they're at. And Instagram aside, you're going to try to do everything to get in front of that ideal client. and remind them of who you are. Maybe that's some email marketing. Maybe that's a marketing funnel. Maybe that's, going crazy on different social media platforms. Maybe Instagram's not where your ideal client even is. Maybe that's going to high level networking events. Maybe that's shaking hands in person or being on social media, but maybe it's TikTok. Maybe it's Instagram. Maybe it's Pinterest. Maybe it's who the frick knows, MySpace. But you're going to want to create a marketing plan and kind of dive into different avenues to get in front of your ideal client avatar and really speak truly to them and keep them engaged, creating ideas for them to be a repeat customer and making sure that once they've purchased something from you or booked with you, that they will come back for more and more and more. So that's kind of the tea. That's kind of the scoop on how to start your own business. I hope that wasn't too stressful for you. I got a little deep there. But this is the kind of stuff that I think is helpful to know because it took me a really long time before I was like, am I a legitimate photographer? Like I was 16 shooting my own first wedding and now I'm 28. So I've been shooting weddings for over 12 years now. But like at some point in there, I was like, well, I'm not a real photographer because the government, like I'm only a sole proprietor. So I was just like thinking I wasn't a real business owner. I'm like, no, that's totally not true. Like you are a business owner as soon as you arrive confidently with an offer and you start making income, like you are a business owner now. It's just all about like those little steps of how are you communicating this to the government? How are you communicating this to your clients? Are you improving on your offer? And how you continue the cycle of bringing in new amazing people to show what you have to give. And hopefully you'll win their loyalty, tenfold. But yeah, you're amazing. And if you have a little idea, you can do this. And maybe if it's a product idea, dude, I was just talking to my husband about this today. If I had a product idea, I would go to Shark Tank like ASAP because getting that like upfront investment and also having like the exposure from Shark Tank is like free advertising. Such a game changer. I have a service-based business, so I don't really have any products to give. So there's like no need for that. But if I had like a product in mind, 100% I would go to Shark Tank. But anyway, that's just my scoop. So I hope this I hope this episode was helpful to you. I hope this episode was helpful for you. And if you are on the fence about a product or business idea, I hope that you have so much confidence going forward that you know you have something to give this world and people are just waiting for it. So I can't wait to see what you come up with. Let me know if you have any questions or need even advice or help in the comments below. And I cannot wait to see what you have to offer. Thanks, guys. Bye.